Hey, good morning, good afternoon. Welcome to the Lee Michaels Show. I'm Lee Michaels on the powerofvoices.com. Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. to noon, we do it live. I like doing it live. You like doing it live? Ain't nothing better than doing it live. Doing it dead is not what's up, you know? And we're going to have fun today. We're going to kind of kick the politics and bovine to the curb. I might have to stick a little something in there every now and then. But we're going to do tech talk today. I got two of my friends and experts on the line Skyping in to us today. And we're going to talk about social media, search engine optimization, or SEO. Also, WordPress. We're going to talk about apps, how important they are to have just for your personal needs or for your business. It's a necessary thing. It's like, what's up, you know? So we're going to get down and dirty and try to keep it simple as much as possible as well so that the average person can understand what we're talking about. And for all you listeners and viewers out there that are technically challenged, then this is the show for you. All right. So let me see if I can. And this is something I've never done before, so I'm not really sure how this is going to pan out. But we're going to give it a try. All right. Now, I'm going to go to Josh. Josh is a web developer. He also develops apps and just all kinds of technical stuff. He is a technical geek to the nth degree. Let me see if we can get his audio to come up here. Josh, are you there?
I am.
All right. Welcome to the show. How you doing today?
Pretty good.
All right. So I don't see you. Are you doing video to me?
I'm not right now,
Oh,
no.
okay. All right. So
Um,
he's in the witness protection program right now. He can't be seen.
how you doing? Yeah.
He's
I
chiming
figured we'd be
in.
doing more screen share stuff than anything.
There you go. There's Josh. How you doing? All right, partner.
Doing good.
Now, Josh is a web developer. And Josh, how long have you been doing website designs and developing?
Man, 8 years?
8 years. All right. So he's
Right.
playing around with his gizmos there, zooming in and out.
Yeah, that's why I don't like the camera. It keeps zooming in and out
Oh,
all
it
the
does
time.
that on its own. You got to cut that.
Yeah, it's auto zoom.
Yeah, you got to cut that thing off there, man. That'll
Yeah.
drive you crazy. So anyway, Josh is a web developer. He
Mhm.
develops websites all over the world. You have clients all over, right?
Yeah, I have clients in Canada here. I've had clients in South Africa and other countries, Australia, pretty much everywhere.
Excellent. And what is your platform that you develop in mostly?
Mostly in WordPress.
Okay. Now, a lot of people are using WordPress today, and a lot of people, the image of WordPress is that, well, yeah, if you want to do a blog, then WordPress is the best way to go. But that's not necessarily true anymore. Is that correct?
Yeah, that changed in 2010. When WordPress went to a CMS system, when the version 3.0 came out, it kind of opened up the doors to more website work, and now we're getting more into web-based applications even. So you could do a lot more with it than you used to be able to do.
Now, tell people what CMS means.
CMS is a content management system,
All
so
right.
it allows the flow of information to easily be processed and helps organize the pages a little bit better online.
Yeah, now see, when you get a bunch of tech guys on and they start dropping these little alphabets and I'll try to keep them on track to explain
Yep.
what these different things mean. Like search engine optimization is SEO, and you know
And the simple terminology on that is it's how you get found in Google, or how
exactly
Google sees your information.
exactly. So we'll talk about that as well. Now, tell me why you think WordPress is the best platform to develop in.
I would say it's the best platform for a lot of things. It's obviously there's different things out there that you could use for other things as well. But for the most part, most basic sites, WordPress is a good solution. It's open source, which means the platform itself is free. Obviously, if you need somebody to help you build it, there's going to be a cost involved for that. But if you wanted to build it on your own, then there's no cost to the software at all. as far as the basic use of the software, at least.
Yeah. So all you have to do is have hosting, and you install WordPress, the basic platform. Then
Correct.
what happens after that? I know it comes with some default templates that you can start building from, but those are somewhat limited. Is that correct?
It's correct. I mean, they have a lot of free stuff out there, and in addition to that, there's a lot of paid stuff as well. When you're using a lot of the free stuff, obviously there's limitations on anything that's free.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of times there's going to be a freemium model where it's a free for the basic use of it, but then anything advanced, there's going to have a charge for that, obviously.
Gotcha.
And then that's where those companies make money and are able to support the free versions for the people that want the free version. That's how a lot of the WordPress community works, as far as like freemium model, where you get a free starter plugin or starter theme,
Exactly.
and then the premium upsell for the additional features that you're looking for.
Gotcha. So basically, a person could even start out with the free basic templates that come with the platform, with the WordPress platform, and start building from there.
Correct.
And there are free hosting companies out there. Now, tell me the difference between.
Not sure of that.
Well, tell me the difference between the free version of free hosting, in other words, WordPress. What is it? .org.
.com.
.com.
Yeah, well, there's WordPress.com, which is the free version of WordPress that you can go to, and that's ran by a company called Automatic. And the Automatic is the company that founded WordPress.
Mm-hmm.
It's owned by Matt Mullenweg. And basically, the version of WordPress there, you can start up your own site. It'll have a .wordpress.com URL name extension.
Okay.
If you choose to have your own domain, there's a fee for that. And then they have WordPress.org, which is a self-hosted solution, which is owned by the WordPress Foundation, which is a community-oriented program that's actually owned by the general population that uses WordPress. So it's not actually owned by a company at all. We're a nonprofit agency that helps manage the platform itself, and that's self-hosted, and you have control over everything then.
Right.
Whereas the other one has some limitations on it.
Great. Okay. Well, see, I want people to understand the options that you might have that you can deal with, and in the WordPress world. And also, we have on the line here, Skyping in with us as well, is Marcel. Marcel is a app developer, a broadcaster. I've known Marcel for 20 plus years. Let me see. I'm trying to figure out how to bring him in here. I haven't done okay, I think I got it here. Okay, Marcel, we're bringing you in here. I think that's the way we do that. All right, where's Marcel? I still have you. How do I do that? Okay, there's Marcel. There he is.
He's already on.
Yeah. All right. It's switching back between the two. When Marcel talks, it flips over to him. All right, got it. All right, Marcel, welcome to the show.
You can't see me, right?
No, I can't.
Oh.
I just see your name, New Media Radio. But if you turn your camera on, then I can see you.
No, it's actually initially when I called you,
right,
it was on, but you and I are connected. But then you pulled me in through this group call, which doesn't include my camera, so you got me just audio because of you pulled me in here.
Oh, that's whack.
You understand?
Yeah. I didn't know that worked that way. I see.
Yeah, we all have to, because I'd already had you one-on-one. I wasn't, I was trying to contact you for the call.
Okay.
And when you group called me with Josh, then Joshua, I'm sorry, then it brought me in audio only. But no worries.
Okay.
I'm better absorbed just by audio.
Well, I was hoping you could show us some of your things that you're doing on your platform as well. But and there's got to be a way that you can turn your camera on. Josh, how do you do that?
By hanging up and then you bringing me back
you can
in.
Actually,
and then,
if he clicks on the camera icon, it should open it up.
Right.
No, it's not going to work because I don't get the icon for the camera at this point. That's what the issue is.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And see, I don't think I can turn it on here because I'm going through a third-party software to bring you guys in. I'm using XSplit, and XSplit is capturing my camera, so that I don't think that one's going to work that way. All right.
Right. And the other thing too, I'm using this via my iPhone anyway, so I'm not connected with my Mac anyway, so I wouldn't be able to bring anything up. But I hope I can
Okay.
still contribute to the conversation.
Okay, great. All right. That's cool. All right, well, let's talk. I want to introduce Marcel here. Marcel is a professional broadcaster for many, many years. He and I worked together back in Baltimore. And since then, he has moved on into new media, and which means internet broadcasting. And he's also a app developer. He develops apps for your cell phones and all of that. And so tell me a little bit about what new media is, um, Marcel.
New media radio, radio you can see. So, being a broadcaster, like you mentioned, Lee,
Mm-hmm.
I that's in my blood. That's what I love. And we still do radio, but we obviously with the ability to bring in video and that kind of thing, we kind of merged the two. So we just kind of play on it with,
Right.
new media, radio you can see. So that's it. My heart's in broadcasting. I went to school to learn how to code, and still learning every day. As you know, it's an ongoing thing.
Right.
Out of necessity,
Okay.
I wanted an app for myself. My first app I bought in 2009, like 2 years after Apple developed the first iPhone. Of course, they didn't have apps initially, right? They had their apps, but they
Right.
didn't have an app store where you could sell them. And then, like, just shortly after that, I was intrigued, and I said, I want to get an app. I got an app, and then I wanted to learn how to build them. So here I am.
So you actually built the app for this network, thepowerofvoices.com, and you also built the one for our sister station, Hot 92.3 The Beat. Now, were those challenging, or were they pretty simple, straightforward for you?
No, they're pretty simple, simple apps. Apps different from a website. They have more utilities built in, right? Um, More or less than just an HTML platform that'll just display things. So that's what I kind of merged the two there. And I call them simple apps. I want to build apps for people
Mm-hmm.
that have a specific use case. Being again from radio, I try to reach out to that group, people who are doing radio or people who are doing video blogging, and now with everything being live streaming, in my opinion, I think everybody should have an app of their own that does live streaming because there is room to monetize it and so forth. So that's sort of like I've picked out a little area in the app world that I focus on, and that's it.
Okay. Now, Josh is also a app developer. What is your approach to developing apps, Josh?
Typically, we focus on instead of doing native apps, we tend to focus on web-based applications. So when we do apps for Android and iPhone, most of it has a web-based component to it.
Okay. So you're not necessarily building an app that is completely
Completely
different than
native,
the app
no.
than the website. You kind of
No,
integrate it.
typically it interacts with the website, but nowadays you can't get into the app stores without having some connection to the phone. So
Right.
a lot of them will
Right.
have like a push notification system to them, or GPS locations for maps for locations like that,
Mm-hmm.
and things like that. Or like if you're a restaurant, reverse. It's kind of like negative geotagging where you put a geofence around the competitor's restaurant and push out push notifications with discounts to your restaurant so they leave the parking lot, hopefully.
So explain. You guys explain that to the people in a little more detail. If you have an app on your phone, and I walk by a restaurant, now, what happens with this app if this app is associated with that particular restaurant?
You can geotag anything on the app, so you can put a location of where you want the notification to go out at. So when they come within that field, it actually pushes out a notification.
Hmm.
And if you're putting it around your competitors' restaurants, for example, you can push out coupons to them as they're trying to approach your competitor.
Gotcha.
Yeah, and generally you're talking about a 100 to 200 meter area. Obviously, you don't want to tag it any bigger than that. I find anyway.
Okay.
Yeah,
Now, do you
too big.
find people have a problem with that from a privacy standpoint, or do they feel invaded, or anything like that? The
I don't think they
consumer,
think about it.
they don't think about it.
No,
No,
and
no, but one of the things that. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Joshua.
I mean, I don't think the consumer thinks about it because they're so used to the technology pushing out stuff nowadays. They don't tend to think about the fact that, oh, they know where I'm at. They're not thinking that because they're just assuming some coupon just came in their phone all of a sudden.
Gotcha. Well, it's a useful thing for a business who has a sale or something special, and you're in a competitive world, and you're trying to drive traffic to your location. This geo blast is certainly, I think, a good idea, and this is something that an app on a person's phone or iPad or Android pad or what have you would be very helpful. And the good thing about it is once you develop the app, whatever the cost is for that app, you don't necessarily have a lot of additional advertising costs other than creating your message and it gets blasted out, unlike having to buy radio ads or TV ads or even ads on Google and what have you. Um, it's free. So it makes life a lot easier and you're reaching a lot more people almost for nothing. Is that
Yeah,
correct,
and you
guys?
know what? And I could jump in and say that it's funny because when you think of apps, Apple kind of invented the apps on the phone, right? And it it's all about an idea. Let's just look at the iPhone in itself, for example.
Mm-hmm.
It was an idea that was added or attached to that technology that gave birth to these types of smartphones, right? Because we already had smartphones, but they got smarter. Well, the same thing with an app. An app will do a certain amount of things, but it's really about the idea, what
Okay.
you can conjure up with that technology to take it to a totally different level. You know what I mean? For
Gotcha.
instance, a lot of people, it's not top of mind when you're talking apps because a lot of people relate an app to a website because now with phones being optimized for mobile, right? So they kind of have the appearance,
Right.
an HTML, like a website has the appearance of an app, but a lot of people, it's not top of mind that that actual app is being downloaded, that content is being downloaded to your device, right?
Gotcha.
Which means, you know, a good, depending on how you built the app, you created it in the SDK, it'll pretty much work. It's germane to your phone now. It'll work without internet connectivity, depending on how much of your app relies on the internet, right?
Okay.
If you have links that are going out to the internet. So, and when Joshua that spoke earlier about, how he does the apps, which is, again, similar to what I'm doing, right? But it's just that, I know for a fact that Google's a little more relaxed, the Play Store over there, but they will reject your app if it doesn't have a certain amount of uh, or if it has too much internet play, just to keep it simple, right? Versus
Mm-hmm.
things that are native to the actual app because they
Right.
want it to work that way. That's the whole purpose of having an app. So again, it's just about how it really opens up for you, the developer, to be as creative as you want to be with it,
Right.
and
And
you can
depending
really do
on
some incredible things for some of the businesses.
Sure, depending on what
And then
the
just real
client
quickly
needs
for the
as
point
well.
about the geofence, if I can make that, you got to be careful, just like push notifications. When people download these apps on their phones, and now with the climate of apps, everybody wants to download an app now, and everybody pretty much will give you a try, but will they keep it on there? So now, folks the developers or the owners are faced with, well, how do I get people to keep this app on their phone and not boot it off after they've taken a look at it? So
Right.
you have to be careful with things like the geofence that you build into it so that you're not kind of like being pinged every 5 minutes and, because that can be a nuisance and then people will chuck your app. So that's
Gotcha.
just something that should be noted as
Sure.
well.
Be mindful of you don't want to over message your consumer and give them a bunch of stuff that they don't want.
Right.
Yeah, I got you. That makes
Right.
sense. Josh, you have anything to add to the whole app thing?
No, I mean I tend to agree with them, and you can't send out too many notifications because people will cut it off.
Mhm.
And then push notifications now. We're seeing it push to the web now too, because now a lot of the browsers have push notifications, which wasn't the case back in the day as well.
Exactly.
Right. And it's funny because back in the day, push notifications, especially when you're talking about on an actual browser through a browser, that was just a pop up, right? That we
Yeah.
definitely voted we didn't want.
Yes,
So
And
it's
now
funny to
exactly.
see that come
everybody
back
wants them.
around and have another life.
Yeah, it is funny.
Yeah.
I was watching the TV show The Shark Tank about a year or so ago, and there was a lady that had an idea, and I'm trying to remember what the actual idea was. I think it had something to do with dating or something, and she had developed an app. She only developed the app for the iPhone, and she didn't have a website. And her whole concept was to push people, obviously, that have an iPhone to her app and to buy her service. I saw that as a missed opportunity or a limited opportunity, or in other words, a little narrow minded as it relates to marketing. Why would you exclude the Android world, number one? And why wouldn't you have a website that you can also send people to join your service? Um, Tell me, am I wrong? Am I thinking that she should have considered having the Android platform and at least a website that these apps were integrated into?
I agree. I mean, one of the problems
Well,
with
uh,
marketing is you have to reach different mediums,
Right.
and if you're not on those mediums, then people are finding somebody else. And that goes for social media as well. I mean, if you're not in certain social media outlets, in addition to having your app out there and your website out there and other marketing, if one of those dies off and that's your only focus, you're dead. You have to have that diversity out there, otherwise, you're putting everything in one basket, and it's never a good idea to do that.
What's your thoughts on
well,
that, Marcel?
no, yeah, I agree. I definitely. I mean, ideally, right? You want to have an app on every platform, even BlackBerry, if it will allow, right? But
Mm-hmm.
the problem is, though, and you'll notice this. There's some cases where, like, you'll maybe because I have an Android as well, right? But you'll notice where there may be an app that's available on the Apple or iOS platform that isn't available on Android. You're like, well, why the hell would they do that? And not, I got an Android. What's going on? Well, what a lot of people don't, or it's not top of mind, is the Android is a platform that allows many different phone uh, builders or creators to use it, right? Where iOS or Apple is just for iOS, just for the iPhone and the iPad, and that family. Okay. So what happens is, though Samsung is a great phone, right? You may have what is it, HTC phone and a few others, right? That really work well on that Android platform. You've got 1,000 other Android phones that are the worst phones ever made. Like they have no processing, right? Like they just don't work. They have no, they can't handle. So let's say you do a build that's a little more sophisticated and it requires a little more everything, a little more juice, battery power, you know, um, processing, whatever. Well, it's not going to work on a phone that may look nice and it may look like the Samsung. It may have some, it may be water resistant, but it's just the what's under the hood isn't there, right?
Right.
So developers know that, and that's one of the reasons why they won't develop to that platform because they can't. They know that most of the phones on that platform won't be able to take advantage of what they've developed. Number one, Apple is consistent and it pretty much is stable enough, or on a level where like the Samsung and the HTC and some of the better phones can handle it. So we don't want to waste time. So we say, hey, well, look, let's just develop to Apple because we're going to reach more phones that way than it appears you may reach more on the Android side. But in reality, they've got like 3 or 4 great phones that'll be able to handle the task.
Well, that's
So
a
that's
significant market.
little
I mean,
known.
if you're talking about the Android, the Samsung phones, whether it's Note 4 or 5 and the whole S6 series or whatever, those are great phones, and there's millions and millions of those phones out there. So I wouldn't exclude or say, oh well, I'm not going to deal with that. And so even if from your perspective as a developer, if you just say, okay, I'm not going to worry about all these mealy mouth, Android phones that maybe have the processing speed isn't there and the amount of RAM. Okay, those are not going to work. So be it. But I wouldn't want to ignore that huge market that Samsung and Nexus and a couple of other great manufacturers have great phones out there. So
Right.
from a marketing standpoint, I wouldn't ignore it. And from your perspective, I understand it's probably more difficult. But in your development process, can't you set your criteria to say, okay, well, we're going to just exclude phones that can't handle this whatever, this capability?
Well, the apps I build are simple, and they'll work on all the platforms. I was giving you an example of how, sometimes certain apps aren't available
Right.
on that other platform, and then that's initially. Like, ultimately, they'll go ahead and develop to it. But when you're a developer and you have a really sophisticated build, you kind of want to put it out there. And like you said, there are millions and millions. Well, in the grand scheme of things, we're talking billions of phones.
Right.
And when you want to get your project out there, you want it to be on a platform. And again, I'm not picking and choosing between Apple or Android. I like them both. I use them both, right?
Right.
But when you want to get your project out there, and it's just like a record that you're breaking. You need to, we need to get our record on the radio, right?
Right.
So we don't have time to play around with the markets that are 100, 200. We need New York, LA. So you get it, right? So
Absolutely.
that's more or less where and then later on, okay, then we can filter through. So that's what I was more or less speaking to.
Yeah. Now, going back to this lady that was on Shark Tank, by the way, she did not get funded. She was very, I'll say, arrogant and stubborn about what she wanted or what she was not willing to do. And the guys, they kind of wanted to buy into her, but she kept just pushing back and pushing back. And in fact, I texted with her for a couple of days, and I was trying to offer her some suggestions, and she was even arrogant and giving me the pushback. And I said, okay, well, you just want to fail, so you don't want nobody to help you. You just know it all. And so I remember that situation because I've checked back and looked at her thing, and it's not growing. As far as I know, I haven't looked at it in about 6 months. It might be a dead issue now. But I brought that up to get the listeners and viewers to understand that while there's so many different opportunities and platforms and technology out here, you still have to be open-minded in your marketing ideas and your concept and how you're going to approach gaining a bigger audience to come to your place of business or to buy your product or service. So keep your mind open so that you can take the advantage of the technology that's available to us. Now, let's say, I'm going to throw a couple questions out to you guys. Okay, I got an app. What do I do now? Okay, I got an app. How do I get people to know I have an app?
Basically, you got to market. So one of the biggest problems online that I see is people build it and they stop right there, and they fail to market what they actually built. And I'm sure Marcel sees the same problem every day in his business as well. I mean, it's like clients, they want to fund the whole project and they build it out and then they just stop. They immediately stop and say, okay, I'm done. And then they don't realize that you have to market this thing and keep it moving. It's not going to market itself. And
It's the same thing with a
huge
website.
Industry problem that we see.
It's the same thing with a website, correct?
Correct.
So
what I've learned. Oh, I'm sorry.
Go ahead,
It's a little delay.
Marcel.
It's a little delay in the pipeline here.
Yeah.
What I've learned though, and again, Joshua, can I call you Josh?
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah.
Okay, is that cool? All right, like Josh mentioned, people think these things after you build them, then it's magic. Like they call on people, right? They don't realize that you have to market. But one of the things that I've learned though is, and I've just taken the responsibility to make sure that before I build someone an app, I'll build a website too. Like if sometimes people really need a website as well, and I can get into that a little later how the website plays in terms of my as far as my strategy goes in it. But people don't realize, and I start to let them know before I build them an app. Listen, we're going to build you a great app. It's going to work. Here's what it's going to do. Here are the advantages. And then I spend a lot of time presenting to them how important it is for them to understand things that they're going to have to do. You know what I mean? Like in terms of marketing and such. And once you do that, first of all, you're going to have a happy customer ultimately because they know what they're getting into. So you definitely want to do it for that reason. And they'll be better equipped to use what you built for them. Because here's the thing: if they're not happy, they're going to blame it on you and your app. They're not going or your website, right? They're not going to say, I didn't do well. They're going to say, this website he built for me doesn't work. It was crap. So it's in our best interest to kind of educate them on the importance of being ready to market and come equipped with, ways of how to market it. Or if you know someone, you should have someone in your arsenal who does great marketing or, takes care of the SEO with their Facebook, takes care of their whole campaign for them. But be ready to present them with that, and then the whole experience for everybody will be great. So I've learned that the hard way because I used to just be happy to build an app and then turn
Right.
around they don't know how to use it, right?
Right.
So that's right. That's what I've learned.
Now, what are some of the best way? Okay, I've got a website. I got a new website. I got an app. What's the next step? What is it? Give me some basic things that we can share with the audience in terms of how to market the what you've just developed. What would you suggest the first thing they should do?
Well, the first thing they need to do is actually, marketing is obviously the first thing they have to do, but they've got to get, while they're developing the app, I think it probably starts way before the marketing. And I'm sure Marcelo will agree on this. There's obviously a trend in UX and UI where we're trying to look at the user interface and how users are actually going to use the functions and everything. If you're going in and just marketing the app and the user finds out that, oh well, I can't use this because it's not doing what I think it's going to do, or the user gets frustrated because they can't figure out how to use it,
Hmm.
you're going to have a problem. So it even starts even before the marketing, as far as understanding how users use devices and understanding that part first, and then going in
Okay.
and saying, okay, now that we have it out, and is the user going to use this? Once the functionalities are simple for the user, the marketing's part starts, and then you want them to share it out as much as they can, obviously. So the more viral you can make it, the better. But not every app's going to be viral. We have a lot of apps we develop for companies that are only in house,
Right.
and it'll never be used by anybody except that company. So in the world of apps, you can do things like that where it's just company apps only, and that's the only thing it's going to be used for. And
Sure.
you can do other things like Marcel's getting into, where he's doing larger audiences, obviously.
Hmm. So
Yeah.
if I got a little Pizza Hut place, I'm making pizzas 24/7, and I want to get more people to come to my pizza shop. I've developed an app. I've got a great website. They can come online to the website and order a pizza. They can also do it through the app. But I want to reach more people. Is the next step doing SEO for the website, and how does the SEO help with the awareness of the app itself?
Well, let
I'm
me
going to
let me jump
hand
in
it
real
to
quick,
Marcel because
Josh,
I think,
real quick.
yeah, that's what I was about to
Well, no,
say.
no, no. I'm gonna turn it over to you, but I just wanted to add this because I think this is more of your area, right? But I I think that you know by virtue of the place that it's a pizza, the fact that it's a pizza place, right? We
Hmm.
already know what that is, right? We know how pretty much how that's gonna play out. Well, so you're gonna have to go heavily on the marketing right there. We already know off the bat, and that's when you know whether it's a website or an app, it's pizza you're selling, and you're going to have to either pick it up or we'll deliver it to you or whatever. But it's pizza, okay? So that's that's heavily on the marketing. You can actually have flyers at this point, but you're going to have to market them. You're going to have to kind of, you know what I mean, get
Got to get
those
it
out
out
to
there.
people to let them know that this is what it does. Because and for a use case like that, all you can do is let them know what we have. It's a bulletin board at that point, right?
Right.
So I'll let you handle the SEO and the marketing because I don't do much of that. I outsource that to people like you, Lee, and others.
Right.
you know?
As far as SEO goes, I mean, every platform has their own SEO, whether it's Google, whether it's YouTube, whether it's app stores for that matter. So, keyword, obviously, you keyword rich stuff. But if I'm, like he said, if it's pizza, it's a pretty flooded market even in the app stores.
Right.
So there's probably thousands of pizza apps out there. So offline marketing does help as well. I mean, even though I know a lot of people stress online, 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 there is still a need for offline marketing, even to market online services. And I think there's a big problem with even the tech community where we think, okay, it's online, so it has to be marketed online, and that's not always the case.
Mm-hmm. Well, if I've got a website, and talk to me about, let's say I've got a WordPress website, Josh, and I know you're the WordPress expert in the group here. Talk to me about what are the key things that we need to do after we've built the site, we're ready to launch. What are some of the things that we need to do in the back end of WordPress to ensure that we're connecting with Google, Bing, and Yahoo?
Well, obviously, you can connect to the webmaster tools for Google Analytics, things like that, to get all those tools so you can monitor and see where your traffic's coming from, see how you're actually spending your days, and if is it worthwhile, is it not worthwhile? Because if you're spending your days spinning the wheels with stuff that's not working, you're out of luck.
Mm-hmm.
If you're spinning the wheels and all of a sudden you're seeing, okay, here's the traffic results coming from that wheel, spend more time there and less time with the stuff that isn't producing. And I think if you're not covering your analytics or any kind of tracking in any kind of marketing campaign, the biggest problem is if you don't know where the things are coming from, how do you know where to spend your time?
Now, in the back end of WordPress, once you log in as the administrator, there's an area for plugins. And there are
Correct.
thousands and thousands of free plugins, and there are plugins that you can also buy. What would you recommend to the listeners in terms of a good plugin for helping with your search engine optimization?
For beginners, Yoast is a great plugin. Been out there for years. It's probably one of the most popular ones out there. It has most of the functionalities that they're going to be looking for, and it probably has more functionalities that they'll know what to do with, actually. But at the same time, I think they need to be more considerate of the fact that SEO nowadays is not like it used to be. It used to be, put keywords out there and they'll rank like crazy. Now it's, you have to have good quality articles and actually be consistent in those articles and publishing them out, because one of the problems in SEO is activity matters nowadays. And if you don't have that activity pattern, Google starts to put you down and put somebody else that does have it up.
Mm-hmm. And what he's speaking to there is the content on your site. Let's say you've got a blog and you only put up a post once a month. Then Google, Bing, and Yahoo are going to look at you as, well, they're not that active. So we're not even going to check with this guy that often. Maybe once a month we'll go see if he's updated his site. Now, if you're updating daily or weekly or several times a day, then you're going to get more activity from those search engines because you are active, and that's what they get excited about. Is that true, guys?
Yeah, I'd agree.
And then the content, how you build that content, you need at least 300 words in a blog. Google is really excited about that. You need pictures. You need to put in text information about those images that you're using. You want to put links in your content to external websites other than your own. All these little things are important to increase your search engine optimization. And if you're just
And
writing blogs and just putting it out there, that's not enough.
yeah, and let me.
You know what?
Go ahead.
Oh, go ahead, Josh. No, you go ahead. Well, I was just gonna say that because it's a delay.
Yeah.
But listen, I was just gonna say that when you talk about search engine optimization and all the analytics and like these are the bases. I kind of look at it. I mean, it's probably not right, but I kind of look at it like that's part of the structure of that site of what you're building, right? It's almost like when you build a house, there are things that you don't see that holds that house up, that structure up, right? So you include them in the build, even though you don't see them, the wires and the different things that run through the house, the plumbing,
Sure.
Right? Very, very important. It's germane to that build. Well, so is the analytics and SEO and all that things because you're connecting to that, right?
Right.
So initially when we started talking, I talked about how creativity is really the thing, and I just want to kind of throw back to before the iPhone, we had smartphones. I had the Palm Pilot, the best phone ever, right? I thought it was the greatest thing ever. Then they come out with this iPhone thing, right? And what Steve Jobs did is he very creatively took an idea and said, we're going to cram all these things into one phone, and then it built into what it is. Now we have the Android, and all this. So it's really, I like to, when I have conversations like this, I like to bring in and make the forefront the element of creativity, because that's what really gets, because even if you're doing all those things right with the analytics and the SEO and paying attention to all those important things, so is everyone else for the most part, right? But it's early on that was a good idea, and it still is. But that was really what you needed. Now you have to have that in check, but you have to be creative. You have to outthink how you're marketing the same thing and market it in a much better way. You know what I
Absolutely.
mean? So I think it's important to just at least bring that into the conversation and
Sure.
add that what I like to do again. And the other thing is the paradigm is shifting again. There was a time, before MySpace. Remember all the geo sites and all? It was before we had, be, right when websites started to really take off, and only big companies had websites, and then people started the layman started to kind of get into, I'm getting me a website. It was a big deal, remember? And
Sure.
then somebody came along, uh, and then they came up with this geo sites, and then MySpace, right? And then what we have now with Zuckerberg's thing. I just don't
Facebook.
like giving
Yep.
him credit any more than I give him already. The whole nation and the country and the world is promoting him. But anyway,
Just stop
when
hating, man. Come on.
when Zuckerberg
He's
came up
got
with
some
his
interesting
thing,
things.
when he came up with his thing, right? And so that really took a big chunk out of people getting websites, because we were about to get on board. Like if you were a developer, a website developer. I mean, it was a big deal. Still are now, but they took a big chunk out of it because they offered people a free way of promoting their stuff for free, almost like a website with that page, right?
Hmm.
So that really messed it up. Now we're here. We are now where, look, it's about live streaming. People don't even want to see recorded stuff. Well, of course they do, but it's starting to take a back seat. You can produce the best video, and people are like, yeah, nah, I want to see it live. You might trip and bust your head. I want to see that. I don't know. So we're changing again, and now that's affecting everything. That's affecting how I build an app for you and what I put in it, as well as a website, and the importance of where the website sits versus the app, and how we even use social media now, right? Because one of the things I'm asking people to do when I build them an app is I've developed an idea that, look, with all this live streaming, we know it works. We know people want to watch it. Well, now let's stop putting all our content live on Facebook Live and Periscope and wherever. We can now build you an app where you own your platform. You can stream live from your platform. You can have a chat in your platform, and you can even monetize your content, which a lot of them aren't letting you do. Most of them aren't. Maybe one or two are, and we don't even know who they are, right? So that's changing again. Now, where you want to have a website, and again, just for this use case, you want to have a website that points people to your app, because nowadays when people think of website, not everybody, but a lot of people think of websites as, when I get back to my computer, if you have a business card in your hand and you say, hey, look, yeah, and it's got the www dot on there, you're telling people subliminally, when you get back to work at your computer, when you get at home and pop open your laptop or whatever, check me out. But when you
Right.
say download my app, they go right in their pocket and grab their phone. It's almost synonymous with app, phone, website, computer. Now it'll change and get, yeah, but you get what I'm saying.
Yeah,
Like
it's all integrated now.
a lot of it is changing though. The idea is starting to change, and if you're a developer of apps or websites or whatever, we have to kind of start to understand that, so that so we know what to build for them, instead of pushing them into something that we're comfortable with building. We have to push them into the right thing that they need, right now, to monetize. And last thing, I know I'm a little lengthy here, But when we're building these apps, when I build apps for people, and let's say it is a Domino's Pizza or a Pizza Hut, I try to encourage them, just like I did. I built an app for Land Rover in Las Vegas. Every other car dealership had an app, big deal, with the cars on it and with all the basic. I told Land Rover, I said, listen, we're going to build you a radio station in your app that's going to be called Land Rover Radio. So we want people to go to your app, even if they're not even thinking about the car, right? We want you to stay on their mind. So when they go to the app, they're listening to the 80s, the classic rock. We got 5 different genres in there. So now, in between the music, while they're jamming it out in the car or wherever they are, even in the dealership, they're hearing, you're listening to Land Rover Radio. You need wiper blade, see Dan in the back. He'll help. So
Right.
your own branding and advertising. We also put a game in there. This is Vegas. So we have a little game where they can, a little slot machine. They can play. If they win, brings them to the dealership. Let's look at the car. So they were blown away. So it's the idea. It's a creative idea to market the app.
Sure,
Apps
sure.
just
Give it a
you
purpose.
should, right. Let's make it more. Let's make them visit us more than just for whatever our product is. That's what Facebook does well. That's what Twitter does well.
Yes.
The news media is even promoting them because every day we go to those places like like we're hypnotized. So I'm trying to adopt that same thing, and it's working. It actually is.
Excellent. Those are some very good points, Marcel. Thank you for bringing that in. Let me just say,
Sure.
424-227-9461 is the number to call in. If you have some questions, we have a couple of tech guys on here today. We have Josh and Marcel are both app developers, and Josh is also a great website developer. Marcel, you do websites as well, but that's not
absolutely. But
more
it's-
app
that's
leaning
not my-
than app. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So we have some experts here. So if you got some questions, there's a call. How about that? Didn't take long for that one. All right. Welcome to the show. Who do we have?
This is good-looking, ass-kicking Barry Pope.
Oh, Lord, not him. What's up,
Listen,
Barry?
Who is that genius you're talking to?
Well, we got 2 or 3 in here right now. We got Josh and we have Marcel.
Okay, well, somebody was talking about applications.
Yes. Well, they both are. They're both app
Marcel.
developers.
Oh, okay. Well, you got some smart listenership.
Well, yeah, you just called in.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah.
That circumvents what I was about to say. I was about to say, well, I already said you got some smart listeners, so now, what about the apps? So, what is he suggesting to you?
Well, it just depends on your needs, and we were just talking about the importance of an app. We've kind of covered that. We've also covered that once you have an app, you've got to market it. Do you have us on a speakerphone, Barry?
No, I got you on my car phone.
Ah, that's what's coming back to me. Okay.
I took it off.
So what happens is once you develop an app, you've got an app. Great. Now you got to let the world know that you have an app so that you can get them to. Yeah, exactly. So that's what we were basically talking about, the marketing aspect and the importance of not just having an app for the sake of having an app, but that app has to have something unique, creative, and exactly to drive traffic to that app over and over again. So that's where we are.
So are we serving a need?
Oh, absolutely. Everything you do should be fulfilling a need.
Right. Yeah. Okay. Well, I'm up to speed. Y'all go ahead. I'll just be listening.
All right, great.
I'll chime in when need to.
All right. Thanks for calling in, Barry.
All right.
That's Barry Pope. He's also a broadcaster. And he and I worked together, back in the day in the Bay Area and St. Louis. So I got a lot of radio buddies out there. So if you've got a question for our tech crew here today, call in 424-227-9461.
I want to say something about the caller, if I could.
Sure.
If I may. You said he's an old radio guy, and I don't know when he did radio or whatever, but, again, that's like people like him are a perfect example, for what's going on today with live social media. And I'm sure, like I said, I don't know much about him. If he did he do radio? Is he in radio now? Did he do it like
No, he's not in
I don't
radio
know?
now. He was in radio about the same time that you were, and in fact a little bit before. So he's been in it 30 plus years.
Okay, see that's a significant amount of time.
Yeah.
And when for someone like him, he's probably got an audience out there who, and you said his name was Barry, right?
Yeah, Barry Pope.
Who was like, whatever happened to Barry Pope? Where is this guy? See, he could have an app, right? And let me say this before I even make this point. Look, the reason apps are really growing in their popularity is not just because of what they do, but people are opting to use their phones before they use a computer, right?
Sure.
In a lot of
That
cases,
mobile
obviously, if you're at work, it's a different use case and things like that. But for the most part, like you're not going to take your laptop to the movie theater, right, or on a date and things like that. So people are just using the phones because they became smarter. So someone like him, he can have his own app, which makes it his own platform, where he can have his own radio show, much like you're doing right here, Lee, right?
Mm-hmm. Right.
And he can connect with the people. And there are a lot of folks out there who want to know, where is this guy? Like he's, I'm sure he sounds like he's got a great voice, right? So they're like, where's Barry Pope? Where is he? And he could do a show once a week or every day, an hour or so, and reconnect with all those people who ever heard of him, right? And he'd have instant listenership, and he could charge him. Look, I'm doing this right now with about, I'm not gonna say the number, but quite a few people where I'm creating a narrative now where I want people to understand that, you know what, your time that you're giving to folks putting out that content, I don't care if you're putting both your thumbs in your ear and making a funny noise while you're sticking your tongue out, right? Somebody wants to see that out of the 9 billion people on the planet, right?
Right.
And your time and your content is worth $1 or $2. See, we've been brainwashed into thinking that we should just give it all out there for free in the name of let's get people to follow me so I can bring them back to my website or something to sell them something. But I'm telling you, we've moved from that. And now we're in a place where you can own your own platform and you don't need to go onto Facebook Live or Periscope. You can do it. You can go there to advertise to come to your app. And then you can charge folks $1 or $2 per month to see your great content. There are people out there selling books, teaching you how to make a book or write a book,
Sure.
publish a book. I'm trying to say, and all of that is worth. You get 5,000 people, multiply that by $2. You got $10,000 per month, and you're rolling, right? So
Absolutely.
I mean, and it's a real thing. So
Yeah,
that's it's about creativity.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
and that's the thing that people don't understand. Once you build the app or the website and you've got an idea, you've got to monetize it. So maybe a subscription based thing is one way, or other ways that you can monetize your product or service. So that's a good point, Marcel, and I'm glad you brought that up. With us today, this is our tech show here live on the powerofvoices.com. We're streaming live on YouTube and on Facebook Live. With us today is Joshua Alexander, who is a web and app developer, and Marcel, who is a web and app developer as well. Josh is based out of the suburbs of Chicago, and Marcel is based out of Las Vegas. And I've known both of these guys and have done business with them. I know them to be credible and very good at what they do. Marcel, in fact, built the apps for this company, thepowerofvoices.com. You can get it either on the Android or Apple platform, as well as our sister station, hot923thebeat.com. So, and then Josh has built many websites for me, and I've recommended his services to a number of people as well over the years. Josh, how can people get in touch with you?
My website for my company is promotionalscience.com. Also, my personal site is joshuaalexander.net. And then, of course, they can call me 630-430-6238. Or they can hit me up on Skype at joshua.alexanderphd.
All right. And Marcel?
Just newmediaradio.com is NU because we don't know how to spell new. So we found out after, but we spelled it NU. MediaRadio.com.
Yes, he's a radio guy. He's a funny guy coming up with his crazy stuff. But that's Marcel, based out of Las Vegas, and he's a credible guy as well. So I personally endorse and recommend their services to anyone that is listening to us because I know them to
Thanks.
be credible because I've done business with them over the years. Now let's. I want to dig into WordPress a little bit with you, Josh, and
Okay.
tell me a little bit about why, if I'm considering building a website, there are other platforms out there. You're talking Joomla. Um,
Correct.
you could build a custom site out of HTML or PHP or ASP or .NET and all of the other technologies that are out there. But why would you recommend WordPress? Not for the fact that that's what you use, but why is it so much better than some of the other platforms out there?
One of the reasons is just easier. It's faster to get stuff off the ground, especially if you're doing testing or launches for major products. Even if the WordPress isn't going to be the main solution later on, because it's not the solution for everything. As Marcel mentioned earlier, there's obviously different technologies for different things that are out there. But at the same time, if you're trying to get off the ground and get it going to test a theory, even you get it up, run it on WordPress, and then change over technologies after you've proven the market concept, even. And I think that that's one of the biggest advantages we have. Plus the fact that yes, you could go to these website builder programs out there, but then you don't own the content. Usually, that's one of the agreements you have in the rights because the companies have to own the content in order for you to put it out there.
You're
A
talking
lot
like
of
Wix.
companies, yeah, if
Hmm.
you go to like Wix or Squarespace, they have to own the content, and it's in the service agreement when they sign it because if they don't own the content, they can't shut you down. And if you put in proper content, they can't shut you down unless they own the content. So that's how they get around that in the
Mm.
service agreements. And people don't realize that when they're signing their rights
Right.
away. The other problem is they don't have full functionality and control. We do a lot of custom stuff for clients a lot of times where maybe there's a plugin that doesn't exist or they have a plugin they want modified. So we do a lot of custom work where they want a custom theme or they want a custom layout or a custom plugin built for the WordPress interface. And they want it to do X, Y, and Z. And if you had those building systems, you're limited to only what they provide. You can't actually build out something custom for your own use. And one of the things you can use WordPress for, in addition to just the websites, obviously, is you can build software that you can, online software where people can actually use it as you would desktop software, for example, and that's web-based application development. Mobile apps, surprisingly, you can use WordPress for. They actually have a plugin called AppPresser that allows you to turn WordPress into mobile apps. Um, and other platforms out there, like you can run entire project management systems off of it. I don't recommend running your books and accounting on it, but they do have plugins for that even. But there's a platform for everything. WordPress just happens to be one of the larger ones out there. About 26% market share in the internet overall.
That's pretty big.
Yeah.
I actually have a question.
Sure.
Can I got a question about because I have a lot of clients. First of all, I agree with everything you just said, and I think one of the problems that for people out there, right, is they don't understand what you just said. Like they don't
Probably.
know this already, right? And somehow they get guided to WordPress to build a site, and they're really looking for a Wix, right? They went to
Mhm.
WordPress looking for Wix, and they land on there, and they managed to get like something up, or they may run into a guy like you. Well, probably not like you, but some guy who can build websites, and then they can't find them, right?
Yeah.
And then they don't know what to do, right? They're like, well, how do I edit my, So I think
Yep.
somehow people need to be more informed with what you just mentioned versus the Squarespace and the Wix and the whatever, because Wix is really simple. I mean, you'd probably have to have had a concussion and then you can't really think that well for you to not work Wix, right? And it's a
But
lot
you know what,
different with
Marcel? I've got
I've
3
seen it.
customers in the last year
Oh yeah.
that were on Wix, and they found it to be frustrating, and they couldn't do it, and largely or mainly because they didn't have time. Or they just
Yeah,
couldn't
yeah, yeah.
focus in
Yeah, that's
on,
a thing.
okay, you click here and then move that over. They just didn't want to do it. Some people
Right,
just
right.
don't want to do it.
That's
So even as
certainly a
simple,
thing.
yeah, as simple as Wix is, and some of the other self-builder website apps out there, some people just
Don't
can't do it.
understand.
So
You're
in
absolutely right.
WordPress,
So look, real quick though,
mhm,
you're absolutely right. But I wanted to, because I think it's important, and this helps me too, because it helps me guide them to the right place too. Because I'm telling you, people come to me and they're like, "Well, I'm a developer. I don't know if he's dead or alive, and I don't know how to use this thing." And
Yeah.
what happens is a real developer built their site, and they built it in HTML. They used the tools. I mean, they didn't use these website tools, these little point and click things, and so they're stuck. And I just want to be able to educate folks on what you're doing, because sometimes they don't realize that. I look at Wix. Remember the old WYSIWYGs and the what did Microsoft have?
front
Microsoft
The
page,
Live.
builder,
Yeah.
the editor that
front
Yeah,
page.
front page.
it was front
Front
page,
page.
right? Remember those days? That was like forever. And so now it's uh, the editor you use is the WordPress is really, I mean it's that, but you still have to know what you're doing and you want to know what you're doing so that you can be even more creative and really solve some problems, right? But some people just don't understand. Telling you, people come to me all the time
Oh, yeah.
and they think, oh yeah, I'm using WordPress and the site looks great, and so I'll say, okay, well look, you need to change this or that because this will be. And I don't know how. Well, where's the person that built it? We don't talk or something. I'm like, so
Yeah.
I don't know. I guess I'm asking
I agree.
two questions. Number one, how do we get people to understand the difference between they first of all they should be coming to an expert like you to build the doggone site to begin with. Number
That was
one,
going to be my
but if they
response.
but number two, if they're not going to do that, at least how do we get them to understand that if they're not what they're doing, they need to understand what they're doing, man. People are losing a lot of money, and and the sad part is it's reflecting negatively on developers because it's
Industry as
making
a
it look
whole,
like,
yeah.
you know what I mean. So can you speak
And
to that
I
a little
try to,
bit?
I actually do speak on that a lot, actually, especially at tech conferences and things. One of the things that I've noticed in the tech field is out of 30 companies you talk to that say they build websites, one of the things I always ask those companies is, do you actually do the code or do you use templates? Because most the companies out here that say they build websites only know how to use templates. They don't actually know how
Right.
to code at all.
Exactly.
And
Exactly.
within the WordPress community, unfortunately, we do have a lot of those because there is a lot of template builders templates out there, and people will just throw up the template and that's all they know how to do, and that's it. They leave it at that. They don't think about like web security or things like this. And I get a lot of questions on WordPress security because there's a lot of sites that get hacked that are WordPress based, obviously. And one of the arguments I'm always asking them is, well, was your website up to date? And almost 99% of the time, the answer is no, because they never kept it up to date. And when we do a lot of unhacking of sites, we find that most of them are out of date because they never kept up with it and things of this nature. And I'm like, okay, these updates were security updates to prevent you from getting hacked. Like
Yeah.
just,
Josh, let me
Right.
stop you there for a second.
they don't think about these things.
Explain the updates. In other words, WordPress itself, the basic foundation, comes out periodically with new updates, and there's security updates or cosmetic or improvements, etc. So if you're still on WordPress 2.5 or 3.0,
We pretty
chances
much got
are,
everybody off of that for the most part now.
yeah,
WordPress actually did something really interesting this year that most people aren't even aware of, unless they're inside the community. We actually contacted all the host companies, all the major host companies at least, and we forced upgrades on almost all the WordPress installs we could grab. And I think we only had like about 2% failure rate. The rest actually went through without a glitch and without crashing. So most people don't even know that we did that. We actually approached the host companies and said, look, you all need to just force the updates on these so we can get everybody up to this point, because if not, we're not going to be able to move on, because we're doing an automatic update system now, and most people aren't aware of that. And one of the reasons we forced the updates is so we could get everybody to this point where they are on the auto update system, so that we can push those updates out automatically so they don't have to remember to do them anymore. Eventually, is the goal that we're trying for.
sure.
And when we did that, the host companies found that their tickets actually dropped by about 80%. Because when they forced all the upgrades, all of a sudden there was no one calling for the problems they were facing because they had an outdated version all of a sudden.
Excellent.
So the support problems went down drastically for these companies. And I think now the host companies are realizing, if we keep these guys up to date, then we don't have the support issues that we would have if we didn't keep these guys up to date. So we're starting to get help from that side of the community as well now, where we didn't have that support before.
Now, Josh, I
And
know you're real big on
yeah,
security, real big
yeah.
on security, and you should be. But
Yeah, that's part of the other side of the business we do. We do a lot of ethical hacking for web security, where we hack networks, hack websites to find vulnerabilities and patch them.
mhm,
And so we are focused on that security side. And with WordPress, for the most part, it is secure. It's just most people fail to do those updates that make it secure.
keep it secure, right? Now, I want to build a website. I want to use WordPress. Okay, but I got to have somewhere to host this website.
Right.
Now, you know, and I know, and Marcel knows that all host companies are not created equal. What are
Correct.
some of the things that a consumer should consider when he or she is out looking for a host company?
Make
I
sure,
think
make sure, make sure that make sure that whoever's hosting your website aren't using a laptop for a server.
that's true.
Sorry, I just couldn't resist.
Oh yeah, that's true. I mean, if they're hosting the thing in their basement or their house, it's probably not a good idea. When we host through a third party company, obviously, that's local to us actually, so we can actually go down and knock on the door if we had to. But they're hosted out of the Mercantile Exchange that has heavy security, biometric scanning for entry points and things of this nature, backup generators, for any emergencies that could arise like that. They're HIPAA compliant, they're PCI compliant, and because of that, we can pretty much host anything out there and feel confident that we're okay and we're going to be able to get them taken care of. Whereas some host companies are, here's the cheap $5 plan you have per month, and they're not. You get what you pay for, unfortunately. They're going to give you just barely enough memory to host your site. If you do backups, you might even crash it because you don't have enough memory to hold the backups on the server, which you shouldn't be doing anyways. But I still see a lot of that where people put backups on the server, and when they get hacked, all of a sudden they're like, yeah, but I got a backup, and I'm like, yeah, but it got hacked with the other stuff when it was on the same server, so it doesn't do me any good. So I immediately delete all the backups, and we start just repairing the files because the backup's useless. And a lot of times, what people don't realize is the updates came out, and that old version that was hackable was in the backup, and that's how
Mm-hmm.
they got in the first place.
So
Exactly.
they'll get
And
right back in. If
so,
you put it.
so we immediately delete all those and get rid of them, and then we start from scratch to get everybody back and secure, and then we go from there. Because if we don't get rid of the problem that caused it in the first place, it's just going to return, and it's never going to solve the problem, unfortunately. So with security, we're always looking for where was the entry point at, where's the vulnerabilities, and usually it's the old stuff that was stored on the server that ends up getting hacked, and that's usually where it got an entry at.
So a lot of people, or most people, I would say, the average consumer is not going to know the difference between what's good or bad in a host company. So give the listeners maybe 3 or 4 questions that they should ask when they call up a host company. What should they ask?
The first thing I would do is, one is find out if they have 24-hour support. If they don't, that's a problem, because if you're down during the day or during the nighttime or whatever the
Mm-hmm.
case may be, or whatever your hours are, you need to be able to contact somebody and get it fixed. Whether it's the person you got hosting your stuff or the company behind it. And the other thing I would make sure on is that whoever the host company is, check them out, not through calling them, but through social media outlets and places like this, and see what their consumers are saying about them. There's a few companies where we get a lot of hacks at. I tend to do a lot of unhacking for certain companies. Um, not mentioning any names, but EIG companies, HostGator, Bluehost, those kind of companies.
Right.
One of the things we find is they're really prone to PHP injections. So we see a lot of PHP injections over there when they're on those kind of host companies. The old GoDaddy servers, for the legacy servers they used to be really prone for MySQL injections. Now, luckily, GoDaddy bought a company that actually helped them improve their technology, so I don't see it as often as I used to nowadays, unless they're still on the old system. But If they're on the new system, I rarely see anything anymore on those. And we also, there's other companies out there. We don't use a lot of these small companies that you hear about all the time because those companies cater to typically individuals that are on low budgets. They
Right.
don't cater to tech companies that need higher service functions like VPS and dedicated server type stuff. And so we tend to use that. And the reason we do is because we want to be able to monitor the security on both the server and the site side.
Exactly.
And we can't control the server, then you can't control the security because you can't control both sides of the fence then.
Exactly.
And so that's one of the reasons we tend to, want to have control over both sides. And when we host our client software, we make sure one of the things we do in our agreements is we make sure we're doing all the updates for them,
Hmm.
so that they can't come in and say, well, we got hacked because we were out of date. We haven't had anybody hacked because no one's out of date because they're always updated.
Gotcha. So you're monitoring, in addition to what the host company is doing, you're monitoring your clients that you develop for on
Exactly.
top of that.
And then if they are hacked, we have backups daily being done so we can restore them to yesterday really quickly. And that's the advantage of being able to have those systems in place. Because if you don't have the backups off the server, then you're going to have a problem. And if you don't do those on a regular basis, you're going to lose a lot of data.
That's
So
right.
we tend to have everything automated where daily backups are being sent to a third-party server that's not even associated with the host company at all. And then they're stored off the server, so that even if the server went down, we still got the backup on another place.
Now, one of the things you kind of touched on, there's a difference between a managed host system and an unmanaged. Most of
Cool.
the low budget operations that you go to, whether it's HostGator or those are unmanaged. In other words, if you
You
have a
have to do
website,
everything.
yeah, your website is up there, it's on
That's
their
it.
server, and that's about it.
That's
If
it. You
you're
got to do all your own updates. You got to do
exactly.
all your own security monitoring. You got to do all your own backups. You have to do all your own stuff. Whereas,
Hmm.
the higher fees that people hear about and they think, oh, wow, this guy's ripping this guy off. They're not realizing, we're doing all those backups. We're doing all that security monitoring. We're doing the hosting in addition to that.
Hmm.
We're doing all these things that they don't see because they're not, we're doing the backups, we're storing them off the servers. A lot of times we're doing backups in multiple places because what if the backup fails off that service?
Exactly. Back up to the
So now
backup.
you have multiple backups. In the security
Exactly.
industry, we like to say if you have one backup, you don't have a backup. Because if you have the backup and that one's compromised, then where's the other one?
Exactly.
And or for example, if you have a backup on the server, you don't have a backup at all. It's just gone. The good thing is a lot of these sites, if you do this on a regular basis, the security tends to be pretty easy to maintain, as long as they're being updated on a regular basis. And I think that consumers need to realize that the security has to be a big concern nowadays. Hacking is so much easier than it used to be. The tools have gotten way better. It's much easier to hack stuff than any time in history that I've ever been in this industry.
Hmm.
And even with mobile devices and the app markets and things like this, the hacks are just insanely out there. One of the things we show on the mobile site on mobile phones all the time is all these permissions they give.
Right.
So they're giving permissions to their contact list and their Facebook list and their Google email list and their photos that are on their camera, their location devices.
Hmm.
I see a lot of times where security, one of the things I talk to clients all the time about is if you're on social media posting a picture of your kids, that picture has a GPS coordination in it. So now they know where that kid lives.
Right.
That's
That's
a scary thing
dangerous.
to
Yeah.
think about nowadays, but that's what's happening. People don't
Right.
realize that
And
stuff's
and it's
there.
nothing.
So
And
you
it's
can turn,
nothing.
yeah.
And it's nothing platforms like Apple or Google can do because that's something you opt into. You say, hey, look, you can have it because people aren't even reading those TOSs. They're just kind of, I just want to be on. And you're absolutely right,
Yeah.
man. You're
Yeah, and now
absolutely right.
the advantage of that is that there is things you can do with that. So if you're taking pictures of your kids, turn off the location section of your phone
Yes.
so that it's not putting that data on the picture, and things like that. So I think that people just naturally just use the
They
phone the
don't
way it
know.
is, and they don't think about, oh, I'm taking pictures. Let me turn off the location
I
so
think
people
I
aren't
think
seeing
Apple
where this
default. I
is.
think Apple like some of the things because I got to speak up for Apple. I think
Sure.
they like things like that.
He's an
They
Apple
have in a
head.
default position. You know what I mean? They really do, though. And I think Josh would agree. I mean, Apple really takes pride in trying to secure this because they get the fact that if people are experiencing problems where people are, it doesn't play well for them. The first people they blame is the phone. I'm telling you, they're not going to say, right?
Mhm.
So they get that, and I'm telling you, even with Google over there, they're starting to really tighten up, man. They used to be you could upload porn on Google. Not that I tried, but you could do that. They used to never care. I mean, first of all, it takes an hour to get an answer back from Google when you submit a
Yeah,
packet to them,
it's
right?
pretty quick.
And
Yeah, and it takes
and
about a day or two in order to get one back from Apple.
well, actually, it used to take 7 to 10 days, but they about
They've got
3 days
down.
now, right? So they
It's
they've really trimmed it down. But
They
so
outsourced it, huh?
No, the thing is
no,
that
they
they've
just now
got
it's
just
competition.
yeah,
It's
it really
Yeah,
competition,
is.
I'm
man. It's
just I'm
like
just
the
doing a
app
stab
stores
at
are what
Apple.
drives those mobile platforms. Your phone is only as good as the amount of apps that you can
True.
bring into it to make it work. That's the power of the phone, actually. But
Right.
I'm
And
just
it's also
saying,
monetized too, because they get percentages of all
absolutely,
those apps purchased on the
absolutely,
app on Apple Pay.
right.
So
So they want to stay on top of it. So I guess that's why they really got up off their behind and said, "Look, let's turn these around." These developers are waiting
yeah,
for them, whatever. But so I guess my point is, they do a really good job, but past what you, the consumer, see. So again, Josh, myself, and anybody else, we have to do a good job at letting the
correct.
person, the consumer, know. Look, you need to do this. You need to do that. It's surprising that you don't hear more of that from. It should just be an overall, I don't know, some kind of wall of information just being thrown at folks so they can understand these simple ways of protecting themselves.
I think
But
the security nowadays is such an afterthought, unfortunately, for most people. I mean, I can almost just walk into a client's office, and if I had 5 people there, I can probably pull out of their wallet. If somebody in that office is going to have their PIN number written on a piece of paper next to their credit card in their office somewhere,
right,
guaranteed.
right, right.
Somebody's going to have their sticky notes on the computer with the passwords because they don't think about people being in that
So
office.
somebody's going to use one, two,
Yeah.
three, four, five
Oh
for
yeah,
Oh
sure.
yeah,
You
the
definitely.
know,
typical 20 passwords that everybody uses. Yeah, the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 password. Those the common
right.
passwords that are out there.
Yeah.
It's amazing how the lack of security in these places are. And so when people are like, "Wow, I can't believe you're able to get in," it's like it's not that hard. You left everything there.
Right. You left the door open.
You left it wide open, so you're not closing the door behind you when you come in, and you're not locking it.
But it
So
even spills out into like
yeah,
our cars because
oh yeah,
I read yesterday where the new chip
you can hack them.
cars they got a shimmer now, not a skimmer but a shimmer where you can actually they're recording the sound that it makes and then they can go and play that back and money starts spilling out of the ATM. That's a real thing.
Shut up.
It's almost terrifying.
Oh
You
yeah.
know, and like someone like Josh, again, I'm not the security expert guy. I try to make sure I understand what's going on. I just try to make sure. So I've subscribed to blogs and different things that just kind of at least give me as much information as I can get. Because it's and the other thing is, I'll tell you, and no offense to anybody, but Americans are just stupid when it comes to security or anything
Correct.
technical, right? So that's why you got this little kid that's 9 over in North Korea, hacking into the government because you would think the government, wow, these people, yeah, they got us. It's a bunch of idiots in the government,
And
who,
I'll make a pitch for the government. They just now really took a serious interest in security this
oh
year.
yeah, yeah.
They
But
just
this
now
year,
created the
think about what
first.
you just said.
Yeah, I know
Think
this
about
year.
it.
Yeah, and the Marine Corps just granted the first cybersecurity program for the military in April, I think it was.
Right,
And
right.
in addition to that, they just opened up a open hacking program. There's a lot of things called in the hacking world we have what's called bug bounty programs, where you find a bug in the computer
Yep.
program,
Yeah,
then
I
you
heard it.
submit it, and you get a check basically. Well, DoD just opened up in April, so now everybody in the public can now go in as long as they follow those rules and help find those bugs. So the security community is able to make money now helping the government find those bugs, whereas before they were trying to do it on their own and they're not really equipped to do so.
Right.
Now,
Well, that's good news. I got to
interesting.
tell
Yeah,
you.
Interesting. You brought up the word hacking. And the average person, when they hear the word hacking, it's a
it's a negative
negative
content.
connotation to it.
Right.
But it's not
Right.
necessarily that anymore.
That's
Now,
correct.
Josh, I
There's
know
what's
you
called ethical hackers, like what I
exactly.
do, where we actually hack. We're paid by the client to hack their network just to find the vulnerabilities so that the bad hackers can't get in.
Right.
And we use the same tactics and the same black hat strategies that they use to get in, but we're on the side of the employer, so we're not trying to do harm to them. We're trying to make sure they're good to go and secured up so
Hmm.
that they're not getting robbed by the other guy.
Well, that's
and,
And
important.
and
forever
it's a
and
huge industry
forever
right now.
hacking was just a workaround. It was just
Mhm.
a workaround. And it was cool.
It
It
still
wasn't
is.
anything bad. But I'm
Yeah.
saying, with TV and movies, hack became we're gonna take over your hard drive.
Yeah.
Like so, that's all. But yeah, I'm glad we're getting back to the true term. Because
Yes. Yeah.
Exactly, and
It's
it really
important.
is that. It's finding a way to get in that no one else is thinking of. You know, or it's maybe doing certain things in Konami codes or something like this. You'd be amazed what's out there on the web that people don't even think about.
Sure.
And some of these things are just wide open. I mean, in the app market, he's right. Apple tends to do a better job at maintaining security than Android does usually. Not to say that it's not unhackable, because you can hack anything that's connected to the internet could be hacked,
right.
Apple included. So I was kind of surprised when the FBI is pressuring Apple, when in reality they shouldn't be, because any other guy should be able to hack it. To be honest with you,
Mm.
so so it's kind of like funny, just copy the data and hack it and don't worry about it. But these guys aren't thinking that way. They're thinking, well, they don't have enough hackers in the government to really be able to control that stuff at the governmental level, unfortunately.
Exactly. Yeah.
But
I
from
mean,
what I understand, the
It's
data
mainly
is encrypted, and they
privacy.
don't even have access to it. Like it's like one of those floating IP addresses, so to speak, right? It's not nobody has that information, and they wanted to, they wanted
Yeah,
to because I
and
kind of
it's still
followed them.
practical, especially with the new computers they have now. I'm not sure if you're familiar with the quantum computers they got, but I mean those
yeah.
things can hack anything in seconds almost. But the catch on that is they're $20 million computers. There's
Right.
only a
Right.
few of them out there, and not everybody has them. But in general, these phones, I think one of the biggest problems is that people just need to make sure. The way I tell people is, when clients ask me about web security, the best advice I can give anybody is, if you wouldn't put it on a billboard, don't put it on the internet.
Right. And
So,
can we say, and again, because I'm conscious of the fact that there are folks
yeah,
out there listening, right? So I'm thinking of things that might be helpful for them. And it's safe to say, right, that when you're dealing with a website, it's just more avenues, it's more ways for people to get in. It just is. And it always has been. And then it depends on the machine you're using. Some machines leave you more vulnerable than others. Other machines have a better way of securing themselves. Not completely, but it's just so much out there, right? And some people feel like, well, if I get hacked, they're just practicing. Well,
Yeah.
not really, because it depends on what they're looking for and what they can find. They can get all the way from your computer into your into your wallet, into
Yeah. To your bank
everything
account,
else.
everything else. Yeah.
So it's not,
Absolutely.
and it's not
so
just
be
that. I
careful.
think one of the biggest problems to businesses that they don't realize is, and I'm surprised the attorneys actually haven't picked up on this. And hopefully no attorney will be listening to this to do it. But eventually, unfortunately, we're at that point where if the small business owner doesn't take security seriously, their website be hacked, and they're going to pull the group of websites in order to DDoS attack another major website. So if those little companies eventually, one of these days, I'm sure the lawyer's going to class action suit these companies for their other client that's bigger, they got hacked because of them.
Hmm.
And sooner or later, it's probably going to happen. So they need to start taking these things seriously so they can prevent those issues from happening.
Right. And let me just say this too, because it popped in my head earlier, but I didn't find the time to throw it in there.
Sure.
When we're talking about security, it's actually from where I sit, it looks like it's going to get worse, because see what they're doing now is, and you remember the days when where there were no
I actually
windows.
see it
There
getting a
were
bit better, actually. But I don't know if you saw the new PayPal thing that came out. It goes in
well,
effect
no, tell me
this
about it.
next. I think it goes in effect in September, or August 31st, or one of those dates. I have to look up the date again. But they are now changing it to where it used to be you just send them to PayPal, they process the payment for you, send everything back. And this, as of January, there's going to start a rollout where you have to have the SSL certificate now, no matter what, even if it's a PayPal transaction, which hasn't
Good.
been the case up until now.
Right. Right. Good.
That's a
And
good
Right.
thing.
Apple, and I know you're familiar with this on Apple. Apple requires that almost all the apps, especially if they have push notifications, it's
Absolutely.
required they have to have an SSL.
Absolutely. because it goes from SDK. So from the SDK to them,
Yeah.
that's the security right there. You have to use their own SDK to even get it through. Well, you can no, because actually, even if you build it in a phone gap or something like that, it still has to go through their channel. And see,
And you
that's what I'm
still have to,
saying.
but if you're building through PhoneGap, you have to have an SSL now in order to get it through Apple.
Exactly, and
They
that's why
won't
you
approve
have
the Apple
to
form.
you have to sift it through. Right. But so that's what was going to lead me to my next thing, saying that one of the things that Apple is leading the charge on is their programming language with Swift. They have an entirely different programming language that's making it so easy to build. And that's why let me just go back to where I was talking about when you remember the time when we didn't have Windows. There was no Windows, right? You had to know actual programming language just to get a couple of functions going on your screen, right?
Right.
And then Windows is what overlaid that and allowed us to everybody to be able to use them. Well, that's what we're headed to with code. I'm telling you, with this new Swift, if you haven't checked it out, you need to check it out. It's really, it's not point and click, but it's coming to where that's they don't want any. Well, I'm not going to say they don't want anybody to learn
More graphical
code,
user interface.
but they're really making it so that anybody can code now, or develop these apps for cross-platform, which is great for the consumers. But at the same time, we lose control that way. You lose, again, if you still be able to go in through the back door and use code to fix things or adjust things, but they're really making it so that it's almost even from Apple. I was surprised to see that, and they're pushing it. They have Apple actually has an iPad app that you can build sites from using Swift, and it's really simple. And I was telling you about that, Lee. I said you need to
Yeah.
look into that and learn
Right.
Swift because it's a very, very simple language. It's not at all complicated, and it's going to get easier and easier and easier.
Well, I think
So
Yeah, I agree.
it's
Yeah,
a
the
it's a
Swift is a
great
nice
tool
language.
that developers can use to help speed up the development process. And some developers will say, "Well, man, that's going to take money out of our pockets." Well, not really, because again, it goes right back to the average person doesn't want to do that. There are going to be some people say, "Yeah, I can learn how to do that," and I can, just like back in the old days of writing HTML with a text editor. And then, the
right,
graphical user interface systems came out, like Dreamweaver and Front Page and all of that, Coffee
right,
Cup.
right, right.
But that didn't kill the business for the developers, because there's still a lot of business out there that people just don't want to do it, or a big
Nah,
corporation.
it
You know what I
it
mean?
did though, Lee. It,
So it
it took
doesn't.
a chunk out of them, but what the developers did is what they always will do. The smart people, they got smart and they built
Mhm.
they built Wix and WordPress, right? That's what the
Exactly.
developers did.
Yep.
So you just morph into something else, right?
I
Well,
have a
that's
I have
They
true.
a
say, well,
platform
look,
launching soon, and that's
right,
true. I think a lot
exactly,
of us do. I
exactly.
mean,
That's what you
I
do.
I don't
You
see
got it.
why not. I mean, everybody else is. We're
You
doing the
have
same
to.
thing.
You have
Everybody,
to. Same thing for
developers.
me, man. I'm not
Yeah,
gonna be building apps one by one forever. In fact, I can tell you some things now, but I don't everything I don't need to put out on the show. So
yeah.
whatever.
Right. Right. Now
Yeah. So
let's
yeah.
take a little time here. I want to dig into what you guys a little more, what your services are, and I'll start with you, Marcel. Tell us what New Media Radio does and how you work with your clients.
Um, New Media Radio is really just that. It's just a radio station, right? Radio you can see. We're using the video to, because that's where we are now. And what I do is I do radio first. I'm a radio guy. I don't even really use the term developer to describe myself, right? That's just a byproduct. So while I'm doing radio and having a great time, um, I've carved out a niche with how I connect with people. And a lot of what I do comes from just my own head. Like somehow I tune out what everybody else is doing and I go the other way and force myself to find a way to do it that way, right? And it kind of works. So one of the things that I do is, I broadcast every day because I have to because I love it, right? And while doing that, I try to, get a market. Well, let me put it like this. I try to travel around to a region that I've carved out. Like right now, I'm in California. I live in Vegas, and we try to broadcast. What I've noticed is while Zuckerberg and the folks are getting everybody to go to their platform, and let me tell you something: everyday people are getting 500 and 800 and 1,000 and more followers or friends or whatever label is, right? Well, 10 years ago, people had 2 and 3 people, 5, 8. So they've done the work. I sit on their platform while I'm broadcasting, and I love YouTube for this because YouTube is the only platform right now that lets you live stream. It's the most sophisticated one. It's real simple. It's free, right? We take that and we can post that link into a Facebook or into a Periscope, or Twitter, or what have you, and it'll play inside that platform just as if you were to use the Facebook Live or what have you. But if I'm going to a company and I'm broadcasting on their behalf, right? Because they can easily turn on their phone and do it, but it's going to look like crap. We have a very professional look to what we're doing. Looks more like CNN or any other news magazine. So number one, they appreciate that. So while we're broadcasting for them and doing an interview with them, we're actually being seen by 5,000 people or more that they may have. One of these hotels in Vegas or a resort here or what have you. And now we're putting our brand in front of 5,000 or more people a day. And we're saying, hey, we're New Media Radio. We've got an app. You want to download it? We've got this and that. And we're here to talk about that. And we keep, introducing them to our brand. So doing that every day, you just get a total influx of people who come to you inquiring about what it is you do, your services. They may need an app. They may need this. We also do video developing. We'll produce video for everybody needs video now, right? They need a commercial, and we produce a really professional looking commercial for them. We'll build them an app, or I will outsource them to someone like you, Lee, or Joshua now, right? Because that's just, I just want to stick in my little area where I am.
Sure.
And that works for me. So we've done really well with that. And then again, I can't stress enough, and that's for anybody that's out there that's doing anything similar to this, just try to do something other than what everyone else is doing, and then start thinking.
I agree.
And I guarantee you'll find some really creative ways of, first of all, you're going to stick out, and there's some really smart ideas and ways of doing things that everybody hasn't thought of because everybody's not thinking. They're just going by what everybody else is doing.
Yeah.
And they're emulating.
Yeah, following the leader.
I'd like to bring up a good point on what you mentioned there. One of the things I would do when you're hiring companies is find somebody if they say they do everything, it's a red flag. Because they usually can't do everything well. When we don't do a lot of native apps because we focus on the web. We don't focus on anything but web stuff. We do web, for security, we do web security. We don't do, internal servers and things like that. If it's not on the internet, we don't touch it. If it's a website, web-based app, web apps, we'll do those things. But if it's a native app, we would probably send it out to something like Marcel because we don't do native apps. We try to do social media management. Awesome. We're not trying to do everything. We just focus on web, and that's it. So we know the web coding language is like the back of our hands, and that's all we focus on.
Right.
424-227-9461. If you have some questions for our expert technology panel, Joshua Alexander and Marcel, they are both top-notch guys. They know what is really going on. Everything from search engine optimization, building a website, building an app for your business or for you personally. They are the guys to go to. And 424-227-9461. You're listening to the Lee Michaels Show on the Power of Voices. Doing a little housekeeping here just to let people know what's going on. We're live on Facebook and we're live on YouTube. And Marcel was just speaking to the capabilities and the flexibility of YouTube and the monster that it is. And one of the things I've noticed, guys, especially in the last couple weeks in particular, I'm seeing more and more people doing live streaming on Facebook than a month ago even. And
it's making a big political impact. And I don't think I've ever seen so many people shot on live stream.
Yeah.
Until this week. It's like we're seeing lots of live stream shootings this week. It's getting to be insane. But the technology's opened up the doors to be able to see more of what's going on, and I think it's opening the eyes of a lot of people.
Yep.
What's really happening out there that they don't get to see on a normal basis. I used to see this stuff when I worked in, back in my prior professions. I know y'all were radio guys. I used to be in public safety work, so I worked in this, law enforcement and corrections and EMS fields, and I used to pick up this stuff all the time. But people never saw this until now.
Right.
and
Yeah.
except for people in those occupations. And now they're being able to see, hey, this is what really happens in the real world, and they don't know what's going on. So it's making a big impact, and I think it's hopefully will start a dialogue where people can start changing what that impact happens.
Well, I hope so, and I hope that it will wake up the law enforcement people as well as the people in the community, and that the shootings and the stabbings and the killings and all this crazy thuggery in the streets. I just pray that it will go away, and let's get back to some kind of normalcy, because it really it's a horrible thing all the way around. I don't care what direction you look at it from. It hurts your community, the image of your community, your property value, everything. Everything goes downhill when a community, a section in a city goes to that level on a consistent basis. It's no good. There's no good in that. So,
Well, cancer just doesn't go away.
yeah,
Yeah.
You got to cut
exactly.
it out. And,
Exactly.
and
Gotta
you
work on it.
lose a breast, an arm, or whatever, in the process. But
Yes,
you got to cut it out, and it just doesn't go away. So
that's right.
what are you gonna do?
So Marcel's company, New Media Radio, is a broadcast platform that can help you market and promote your idea, your company, or just you. If you just like Donald Trump and you want your ego blown up, then contact Marcel. See how I slipped that in there?
You can contact either one of us. We'll help you bust that one down.
And help
I know
you.
I have different political beliefs than y'all, but I think we both agree on that one.
Right, absolutely. And now Joshua is a
I'm a
technical guy.
libertarian, yeah.
A technical libertarian, and his approach to what he does with his business is more on the development side, creating your idea for you, either on a website or through an app. And I'll let him talk a little more about that. And Josh is based out of the Chicago area. He's not right in Chicago. He's in one of the
Yeah, I'm in
suburbs.
the suburbs of Orland Park. Basically.
Yeah, Orland Park.
He's in Gary.
Yeah, I've been there though. I have clients out there actually. In fact,
I was
a
in
client out
Chicago.
there.
I was in Chicago and I was driving around and I was in Gary somehow. I don't know how that
Yeah,
happened.
you went across the border there.
Yeah, you crossed over the border. It's not, Gary's not a bad town. I've had clients out there. I show up out there all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the biggest problem in Chicago is if you're out there, like any town, and I think it's maybe because I grew up in a different state, maybe because when I moved here, it's like a culture shock. Lee and me grew up in the same state, so down there it's more income class than the divide that you see up here, and it's a culture shock for us when we got here.
Yeah,
So
it is different.
but the good thing is you learn how to communicate down there because that's no one cares. And so when you move up here, it's like I didn't care, so I just communicated like I normally did, and I didn't know one had a problem. But here it's like, wow, what a divide they have up here because they don't know how to talk to people.
Yeah,
And it is just a lot of communication problems I see in the public eye.
absolutely. So, Josh, tell us a little bit about what you do and why someone should consider your company. Your company name again is?
Promotional Science, and the website's promotionalscience.com.
Okay.
Basically, we do a lot of tech coaching where clients are trying to get into the tech industry and learn code and things like that. We actually do teach code to people that want to get into the industry. In addition to that, we primarily do coding for other tech agencies and marketing companies and people that want to, if you're interested in trying to start your own tech company and you just need a coder to help do the work for you, then you can always, we're a wholesaler in the industry where they can mark up our services and things of that nature. So that's pretty much the main business we're in, is we're the tech wholesaler to other people that want to sell out services that we offer, obviously.
Interesting.
And so people that want to start a business, feel free to give us a call. You'll have a tech person you can count on, and they'll be able to mark up the services and make some money.
So you discount your services. So if a tech company or a web developer, independent web developer, small guy comes to you and says, okay, Josh, I want you to build this website for my client, and what are you going to charge me? So you will wholesale your services to them,
we're
and then
just
they can
giving
mark
them
it
a
up.
rate, and we'll,
Gotcha.
and most of the time, a lot of times, especially if they're new, we'll help them as far as like, okay, here's what you should be charging versus what we're charging you, and
Right.
we'll actually help them close the deal even on the phone with the client if they need to.
Absolutely. Oh, that's
because
great.
obviously it's a benefit to us too.
Sure. So you have a number of your customers are in that lane.
Pretty much most of my clients are tech companies that don't have the technical expertise that we do, and so we provide that extra tech help. We're kind of like the techie to the techies, I guess you could say. If a tech company has a problem, they'll call us to solve their problem,
Yeah.
and that's kind of where we made our niche at, basically.
Now, I want to circle back to what is a hot topic, and that's search engine optimization. Um, do you okay? You build a new website. Let's say it's
Mhm.
WordPress for simplicity. What is the first thing that you do in that back end to ensure that, or give me the steps? Okay. Do you need to contact search engines to let them know that you exist, or is that all
With
done in the
WordPress,
back end?
no, because WordPress actually has a system in it to do that for you. It's XMLRPC, which obviously is tech lingo for it. Basically pings the search engine to tell them you're there. That's the simple version of it. But WordPress automatically notifies the search engine when there's content that's being published or coming out, so that you don't have to go out and manually publish it out and do it yourself. A lot of RSS feeds pretty much do that nowadays.
Now, wait a minute. Hold it. Do you have to register with the websites? In other words,
Mm.
go there and
No, I
tell
don't
them
have to go in
you
and
don't
do
do that
anything.
at all anymore.
That's the old days of
Yeah.
registering websites and stuff. Now, I tell people you can index within about 20 minutes. If you really want the website indexed fast, just tweet it out on Twitter. They index Twitter constantly, so it's always feeding into Google automatic. So any link that hits Twitter is automatically going to get indexed immediately. So it doesn't matter as long as you just publish it out on sites that already hit. Even if you don't have a WordPress site, it will index immediately because the link went out on Twitter and it's going to say, "Hey, what's this?" We're going to search that one too to see what
Right.
it is.
Now,
And
do you
so
have to
you
have a
just have to find
special?
sites like that.
Do you still have to have an XML file on your website to
And we're
for them
actually
to?
going to be phasing out XML RPC soon.
Really?
So because we're doing more JSON stuff with some of the new API stuff that we're building into for more web-based applications in WordPress. And a lot of the new REST API stuff, we're able to start getting away from some of the older practices that we used to have. And now you'll actually be able to have APIs for your own website to integrate with other people's sites, for example. So now you can have blog posts coming from one website to another website. And those APIs will be pretty much interchangeable in the future here.
Now, is that something that the search engines are embracing?
This is within the WordPress community. We're already working on these functions already.
Okay. So once that's in play,
Well, the REST API is already there.
Okay, but
So
your
now
index
it's just
file.
making it more friendly to make it easier for the users to use.
Now I'm talking about the index file that WordPress creates through the plugins that talks to the search engine. When the search engine comes to index your site, it says, "Oh, I see you have a contact us page, and you have this page, this page." So it goes in and looks for that. Are you saying that those type of files are not going to be necessary?
Well, the indexing still will be there. It's just not going to be
Okay.
using the XML RPC anymore. So
Okay.
there's other ways to index websites. Obviously, Google's automatically searching almost everything nowadays. If you're when you submit your webmaster tools and you're submitting your search engine stuff, so like analytics and tools like this,
Right.
they're already searching your site because you submitted to them anyways.
Exactly. Okay.
And if you're not submitting those kind of tools and you're not looking at your analytics, you're going to be wasting your time. Like I said, you'll spend your time trying to go after one thing when it may be the other thing that's making you money.
So now, to be clear to the consumer out there, they have to go and set up an account with Google for the Webmaster Tools. And if you have a Gmail account, you basically
It's
sign
not just
in with
Google. Yahoo has Webmaster
Yeah,
Tools.
exactly.
Bing has Webmaster Tools.
that. Right.
I recommend doing them all,
All
even
three.
though Google's still the big elephant in the room.
Exactly.
Because if you're still focused on Google and Google only, one of the problems is what happens if Google dies tomorrow?
Yeah, that's true. I do
And
them all.
everybody kind of looks at that and laughs at me because they're like, "Yeah, Google's not going to die tomorrow." But no one's talking about Alta Vista anymore, and
Right.
AOL and even
Exactly.
Yahoo for that matter. They're kind of a dying breed now. So people need to realize that there's going to be new search patterns that come out. In fact, most people don't like the search patterns in Google. So I think
Yeah,
in
and
the
they're
future,
constantly changing their algorithm.
I think that what we're going to see in the future in search is going to be, and this may be a great topic to end on, is what me and Marcel see as the future of tech. I see the future of tech as a more interactive platform will go more into virtual reality websites and stuff in the future. I think augmented reality and things of that nature, holographic type imagery, and then I think in the search engine side,
VR,
we're going to
definitely
see.
VR. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think on the search engine side, we're going to see a trend where it's going to be almost like a personalized search engine. You'll be able to say, I don't want searches from blogs or Wikipedia or these sources. Cut these out, and you'll get a customized search based on what you want cut out. And I think that's going to be the future of search engines, and you'll be able to search locally way better than you do now, even with the local search they have already. And so I think you'll be able to have multiple boxes, and you'll say, okay, I want a pizza place in the zip code instead of just a pizza place and typing in the name of the place. And you'll probably get better search results that way eventually in the future.
Now, with all the technological improvements over the last 10, 15, 20 years, as a developer, is there one thing you said, man, I wish I could, what would that be? Or I wish they had this available now. What would that be?
Wow, man. I think the one thing I wish they had available now is the ability to. I really think the holographic imagery stuff that's coming out right now is going to be cool. It's going to allow for better interactions and things. We already are seeing holographic cell phones out of Japan. And one of the things I think that one of the problems I see is in America is we don't embrace change very well. So we're still in this mentality, if it isn't broke, don't fix it. And because of that, we're falling way behind. I mean, we're decades behind some of the Asian countries in technology. They've got full grocery stores in Korea where you can scan the walls of the subways and their groceries are delivered when you get off the subway. I mean, we don't even have anything like that here yet. Wow. And I think the problem that we're seeing here is, I think the biggest thing I would say is, obviously, I think anybody would admit that, I would love to be the founder of Google or Facebook because they're the one making money, obviously. But I don't think that's the future of where things are heading. I think you're going to see a big change in the future, and there's going to be a lot of opportunities for other people to come in and make money on those.
Okay. What about you, Marcel?
What was the question again?
If there was one thing that's not available now, whether it's a tool or device or software or whatever, that's not available to you now, and I know you're a cutting edge guy. You're always a step or two or 5 steps ahead of what's happening right now. And then he and I bounce back and forth, and I'm always trying to pull him back. Well, slow down, come back over here, because the world's not there yet.
I'm going to guess since he's a mobile guy, he's going to be like wearable technologies.
Oh yeah. So what is that thing that's missing right now that you wish you had?
It's that's a hard question for me because, man, like I don't know where the line. I don't know where to draw the line between will that ever even be possible or you know what I mean. So I don't know, man. Like really teleportation, right? Let's just so whatever. I'll just say like we could take there was a time when we would take we couldn't dream of taking a fax machine, having a piece of paper and sending it through one end, and it comes out, a facsimile, that you can use. So, that's technology. We should be able to step into a box and it scan our molecular, build up and from beginning to end, cellular structure and everything, and then we should be able to teleport on the other side in a matter of minutes or hours or seconds, and you die, but you'd be
reborn on the
perfectly.
Other end. That's kind of scary.
You'll die, but you'll be. It's Star Wars and all that. But no, that's a real thing. Like that can happen.
Exactly. Well, I remember
back. To see that.
I remember back in the days of the comic strip, and Dick Tracy had this watch on his phone on his watch. Well, we got that now. So that was 30, 40, 50 years ago, but it's here now. So it's not impossible what you're talking about to even happen. And who knew 50, 60 years ago you could get a heart transplant. But, so things
as long as
constantly evolving.
As long as conceptually you can kind of, get it, right, then it should be able to be done. Because that we had TVs, so we naturally figured, well, why can't you shrink the TV down, put a camera on it? We had cameras, right, where we could see it in a watch. So the concept
put it all into
believable.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Right.
All right, before we get out of here, I want to give the audience an opportunity how to get in touch with you guys if someone wants to hire your services. Marcel, you go ahead. Tell us how people can contact you.
Oh, once again, newmediaradio.com. Just go to the website, newmediaradio.com. NUmediaradio.com. And that's it. Everything else is there. You can download the app. You can call us. And that's it. Oh, we want you to just come to our website, see a picture, click it, and keep it moving. That's it.
Keep it simple.
That's all it's there for.
All right. Gotcha. And Josh?
My website's promotionalscience.com.
Promotionalscience.com. All right. And I thank you guys so much for being on the show today. You know, you guys know me. I'm a tech geek, and I love doing this stuff. I love talking about it, and I love having other people to talk about it as well and bring us some new ideas, concepts, and help us through our maze as we're growing through this whole technological development world that we're living in. And it's constantly changing every day. It's always something new. I mean, I spend hours a day just reading technical journals, and I get all kind of newsletters and notifications from websites that I follow. And there's stuff that is coming out that is coming so fast. You go, wow, I can't believe we can do that now. So stay on the cutting edge, embrace it, don't run away from it. I know a lot of the people that are listening to us are probably saying, well, you know, that's too much for me, and I'm afraid of it. My co-host, Carol, she's kind of one of those that she uses the cell phone and her iPad and computers and all of that, but there are times when she gets a little frustrated because she doesn't quite understand the steps and the process that you need to do. Invariably, almost every day she comes into the studio and she goes, my phone is not working right. It's just all jacked up and it's slow. And I said, give me your phone. And I'll say, look, you got to go over here and clear out these 27 apps you've got open in the background. Number one. And she's going, oh, yeah, that's right. You did tell me that. So many times it's something really simple that people don't understand. And just
And
turning.
they blame the phone.
That's right.
They blame
Sometimes,
the phone.
That's right. Sometimes turning the phone off and turning it back on doesn't cure that because those things are still open in the background. So you got to go, depending on the type of phone you have, but you need to go in and close up those background running apps and then uninstall stuff that you really don't use. It's taking up a lot of space. And I need to do that right now because I only have 32 gigs on this Samsung Note 5. And I'm about 1 gig away from being full. And I got this phone in December of last year.
Stop clicking on foreign links that people send you from a phone number you don't recognize to begin with.
That is
Who
true.
does that?
Everybody. That's right. And don't download things. Another thing, I get probably 10 emails a day minimum with this thing. Well, here's that file you asked me to send you, and I don't even know who in the hell you are. And it's usually in a zip file, but when you download it and unzip it, it's an executable, a file that you click on. It's going to run in the background and do some harm either to your phone or to your computer. If you don't know who's sending you those files, don't open it. Delete the email. Put them in your spam because it's somebody trying to invade your world, whether it's your cell phone or your computer, your tablet or whatever, and it could do harm to you. I get at least 10 of those a day. At least. Sometimes more. So be careful
From your
with
phone,
those
you
things.
mean on your phone, Liam?
Well,
Sorry.
it's coming through email. Yeah. And so depending on where I open it up, whether it's on my computer or my phone or my tablet, but it's there in my email. And it's I'm hip to it. And another thing, you get these people that call you on your phone that's trying to sell you some stuff, or you can make $10,000 in just a week.
Well, a lot of that has to do with their targeting a certain device or machine. You do realize it,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
It's like,
Absolutely.
I'm going to fish in this pond. So sometimes when you have certain types of Windows machines, and they can tell what kind of browser you're using. They know, like Josh knows, they know where you're looking, like security-wise.
That's right. Absolutely.
So they're coming right to you with it, I mean,
and people say that, you don't get viruses on Apple computers. Not true.
Oh, boy.
Files
I've
get
used it
corrupt
so
on
many
any
times.
No, you
any device.
no, you can get
Every
by.
time.
It's always been that. Again, I just said it. It's where you want to fish. You're gonna fish where more fish are in the pond
Yep.
than pond B. It's just that Apple has been, not that many because of what they do,
Well, in the
to try
beginning,
to
they
help
didn't
with
have the
security.
market share,
You know,
but now they've got the
it just
market
wasn't
share.
as easy. Right.
Exactly.
Now they're a little bit more on the predator list, definitely.
That is
So,
true.
yeah.
That is true. Well, again, guys, thanks so much for joining me. And we're going to do this from time to time, maybe once a month. We'll do a special technology show, and we'll venture into different things. Maybe the next time we'll talk about TVs or whatever.
Awesome.
So thanks so
It's been
much,
great,
guys. I
Josh. Good to
appreciate it.
meet you. Yeah,
You too.
I'm sorry,
I
man,
just
but
sent you
I
an
want to say
invite
good to
on
meet you, Josh.
Skype. I just sent you an invite on Skype.
Yeah, I
so-
accepted it.
And you guys are certainly on Facebook
accepted
and Twitter and all of those places, right
Oh,
under
yeah.
the same
We're
name?
everywhere.
Okay,
Awesome.
great.
Thanks, Lou.
All right, thank you. Have a great day. Be safe and be kind and tell somebody you love them. And again, thank you so much for being on the show. And that wraps it up for us today. And thank you. What is that? That's the wrong music. That must have been a leftover from the last show. Exactly what that was. But again, thank you so much, y'all, for being a part of the show today. And we're here Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. to noon on the Power of Voices, where we broadcast live on Facebook Live and YouTube. And every show is archived on those two platforms. So if you missed the beginning or the middle or the end of the show, you can always go back and get the full thing. Thank you again so much for sharing. Share this broadcast out to all your technologically challenged friends and family members. Maybe we can help them out. Have a great day. Bye-bye. Are you guys still there? Everybody's gone. Okay.